All right, I'm pretty sure we're live. Let me just check on my second screen here. Yeah, we are. Okay, cool. Hold on one sec, guys. Oh, let me turn on my live stream. All right, sweet. What's going on? Obviously, pretty intense time in the market. For people on the sidelines, especially because if you're not involved in it, then you feel like you're getting a bit of FOMO and all that kind of stuff here. But let me just tell you guys, I can't find, maybe someone can help me out. I can't find a direct reason in terms of events for this pump. But what I can see is that we did have an ascending triangle formation. I talked about this in my last video a little bit. And you would have remembered that if you watched my video yesterday, just for the last one I've done. I talked about this ascending triangle on the 4-hourly chart, right? Pretty clear ascending triangle formation, something like this, something like that. And I said that, hey, if that plays out, it was a possibility at that point. Obviously, it's an ascending triangle formation. Typically, they do play out, okay? And I said, hey, if it plays out, we're probably going to be looking at a breakout to retest this line here, this uptrending line. And if it happened here, for example, retest this uptrending blue line, which is actually stemming all the way back from the July retest on that first move out of that massive consolidation period. Okay, so that uptrending dotted blue line there, dashed blue line, is pretty important, and this move basically is targeting that line. Now, as to whether it gets there or not is a different question. It's already moved up to 44k, it's targeting 46.5, but what's interesting about this whole thing is that even if we get there, we're still going to be below massive resistance, okay? And even if we just barely make it there, say we get to, for example, 45.5k, that's going to be a test of the double top region that we had recently, right? And also the region that held for support throughout the entirety of December. So lots of resistance above. I wouldn't say that immediately off the bat this is a reason to be extra bullish. Obviously, it's not bearish, right? Nothing like this is ever going to be bearish. But what I would say is that I wouldn't be touching this market with a 5,000 billion foot pole right now because we need more time to see what this move is actually going to do. And in 42 minutes, we're going to be seeing a daily close. And so I'll answer your questions in a second, guys. In 42 minutes, we're going to be seeing a daily close. And it's going to be very interesting to see where that daily candle actually does close. Okay, and we're going to be waiting for that. We're going to be on this live stream until that daily candle closes, and we're going to be analyzing it at that point. So 42 minutes, a very important period of time, because obviously with a move like this, I mean, if we just flip over to the hourly chart quickly, with a move like this, you can see how quickly this thing is actually moving. Well, in the last 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours, we've moved up all the way from 37.8k all the way through to 44.2k. So that's a 6k move, right? A 6k move in a matter of Sorry, that's a 7k move in a matter of basically what, as I said, 8 hours. And so, I don't really see how that's natural. Looking at the price action, looking how much that actually is, that's a 16% move. Unless there was an actual global event, a news event, this kind of stuff doesn't just happen like that and stay up, right? So what I'm saying, what I'm suggesting is that if this is a bullish move to the upside, we're going to be rejecting at least a preliminary rejection and potentially come all the way back down to the retest the top of this ascending triangle at 40k before swinging back upwards, right? No doubt this is a bullish break. It's undeniable, but as of right now, it's not time to be FOMOing into the market, right? I don't see how it can sustain any higher than it already has. It's just simply not possible. I mean, we've already dropped down 1,000 USD from 44k to 43k, and looking at the daily chart, which is very important, we can see that if we manage to close this daily candle above this red resistance box, we're going to be in a pretty good position. However, as of right now, we're kind of testing it and kind of just barely hanging on. If we close below this red resistance box, we can very easily just reject back down, and this could just be very easily be a bull trap. So I think it's the preliminary stage right now, and the daily close in 40 minutes is going to shed a lot of light. Now, I do have a chart I want to look at as well. And that is regarding the 50 and the 200. But let me answer some questions first. And kind of just outlining the fact that, well, I've been looking at this chart, as you guys will remember. I know it's a little bit delayed on the BLX, right? And they'll catch up soon. But I've been looking at this chart here for probably 2 months. And I've kind of been expecting this kind of thing to happen in the back of my mind. Now, I can't say it was my prediction, but I definitely have made people aware of it, right? And that's undeniable, in which basically just go over it briefly, and then we'll go over it a bit more extensively in about 5 to 10 minutes. But it means that way, will we drop down in 2018 below the 50-week SMA, find a short-term bottom, bounce back up, reject off the 50-week, and then end up 200. And we're kind of speculating that, hey, the same thing will probably happen here. And that's been in the back of our minds for a couple of months. Now, I do also, just before I answer some questions here, I do also want to bring up, actually, I'll bring it up in a second. Let's answer some questions first, and then I'll bring up that fractal, because everyone wants to talk about that fractal. Very, very important fractal on Bitcoin, that purple fractal from 2018, which seems like it's playing out, to be quite honest with you. I think I've deleted the chart for it, but actually, matter of fact, let me try and see if I still have it. I think I have deleted it, and that's okay. We can just bring it back up briefly. Let's go to the daily chart. And we can bring up that fractal from 2018, try to adjust it just before we answer some questions here, because it's going to be absolutely critical to the rest of the analysis. So looking at this fractal here, right, I was looking at this chart. Now I look at the chart for 8 to 10 hours a day easily, probably more than that on most days, and I kind of look for any kind of similarities between moves. And I looked, first and foremost, I found this in about late December, I'm pretty sure. I looked at the dead cat bounce region from 2018, and I saw some pretty interesting similarities between the current dead cat bounce in 2022 and the 2018 bounce, and what that actually led to. And we can just bring that up right now. So we've got this clear fractal here, and we'll drag that all the way across to our current price action, and we'll try our best to apply it. Now, people who haven't watched my videos before, you're going to notice some insane similarities here. Let me try adjust it to the best I can. Without moving it too much, because obviously if you move it too much, it just kind of invalidates the whole structure, doesn't it? But we're going to have to adjust it a little bit, because obviously they're not exactly the same. But look at that. That's crazy similarities there for this fractal here, and I'll adjust it a little bit more. Absolutely insane similarities. It looks like I've just copy and pasted directly from this thing, but that you just saw me do it right there. That's directly from 2018. So insane similarities in that fractal. But before I get into that, let's look at some questions here. So we've got a lot of questions. Fear grid index, curious to see how it shows. Yeah, the fear grid index will be interesting. That's 38 minutes. We'll definitely look into that. Although I don't give the fear grid index too much credit, because I think it is a little bit susceptible to kind of encouraging people to make bad decisions based on very little evidence, right? It's speculation at the end of the day. I don't give it too much credit. In 2018, for example, we were at extreme fear. Well, if it was out, right, we would have been extreme fear for basically months. And we've been in, just because we're at extreme fear doesn't mean you need to buy, basically is what I'm saying. I think it's a little bit misleading. Where do we have to have a monthly close to actually be bullish on Bitcoin? I'll look into that briefly as well. I did bring up yesterday, in my video yesterday, a chart on Bitcoin regarding the monthly. And actually, matter of fact, let's look at it quickly now. We'll just answer the questions as we go. Now, so let's see here. So disregarding this fractal for a second, in fact, we can just delete it for a second just because it's going to do some weird stuff on logarithmic. We have a 21-week EMA on the Bitcoin chart here. We're currently at 43K. The 21-week EMA is this line. This blue line, it is very important. It is kind of a macro support line. Wherein if we lose it, historically when we have lost it, we've jumped down basically minus 50% within a matter of months. So we lost it here in 2014, jumped down from 400 all the way down to 200, okay? And we lost it here again in 2018, jumped down from 6,000 all the way down to 3,000, okay? And if we jump down here in 2022, if that trend continues, we'll jump down to like 20K to 18K. All right, so that is 50. This is basically a line that determines whether we're going to see a 50% correction or not. Now, it's only happened 2 times, so we have to be a little bit, take it with a little bit of grain of salt. 2 times isn't exactly an established trend. However, it is enough to kind of give it some value. And as of right now, we're probably looking to close, well, we probably will close the monthly candle above this line. The monthly candle for this line is at 37.1K. We're currently at 42K. So yeah, we're going to close it above this line. We're going to hold it for support. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see a strong bounce off of it though. For example, in 2018, we closed above this line on 4 separate occasions. We did see a green candle upwards, but it didn't lead to any meaningful rally. We didn't fully recover or anything like that. What's interesting is that we saw a meaningful rally off of this line in 2018 at the same time as when we tested, for example, let me bring back up that chart that I had there, the 50-week SMA. I'll bring it up back in a second. Let me just bring this fractal back. Might be a bit hard to skim through all these charts here. Let me see if I can get it up. I think I've actually... There we go. So this is the chart here. So this is the weekly chart on Bitcoin. and we'll bring it to logarithmic so you guys can see more clearly. So that monthly candle, that green monthly candle that I just showed you there in 2018 off of the 21-week EMA that we're seeing now in 2022 kind of repeat, was the monthly candle in which we saw the rejection of the 50-week SMA, and currently we're heading up to the 50-week SMA, possibly for a rejection as well. So just, it might be a little bit confusing, but you can see the similarities start to play out here. So essentially, as for the monthly, well, I don't base it off the monthly, right? I think we need to close above a weekly candle above the 50-week SMA, right? Closing a weekly candle above the 50-week, which is currently at 47.2K, will put us in pretty strong bullish territory. But as for the monthly chart, I'm not basing much off the monthly chart at all, but that 21-week EMA on the monthly chart is quite interesting to look at. I see people calling for a war pump. Yeah, could be, who knows? It's hard to kind of say with that kind of stuff. We are live, exactly. Nah, bro, I've kept up with it all. In terms of bull/bear traps, does the major reversal have to be quick after the volatile move? Or can it go sideways before reversing? So if this is a bull trap, what you're saying is if this is a bull trap, right, which is definitely a possibility for sure, if this is a bull trap, in fact, I'd say it's probably the likely possibility, because even if this is not a bull trap directly right now, I think that we will reject from 47K. But this entire move, if it's a bull trap, does it have to reject straight away? Can it take days? Yeah, for sure, it can take days, whatever. It depends what you define by bull trap, right? It's a subjective definition. So in my opinion, any kind of dead cat bounce is classified as a bull trap, right? It doesn't need to be something that jumps up 10K and then drops down in 10 minutes, right? It can be a sustained move that goes for a month, just like this move here. In February, early February to late February, we had a massive jump up from around 34K all the way to 45K and then rejected back down. I'd consider that a bull trap, right? It depends on definition. There's no right definition. Will there be an altcoin season? No, I don't think there's going to be an altcoin season. However, I will say that it depends what you mean by altcoin season, because an altcoin season, by definition, or by my definition, is just a period of time in which Bitcoin underperforms against altcoins, or altcoins outperform against Bitcoin. So generally, on paper, you could actually see an altcoin season in which altcoins go down and Bitcoin goes down, but Bitcoin's just going down faster. But in terms of a traditional altcoin season in which you see altcoins go 10x, I think the boat has passed for that. We're not in a bull market anymore, in my personal opinion. Now, whether we flip 47K or not and reclaim bull market territory, that's a different question. But we're not there yet. We're simply not there yet. And people like to jump the gun. Okay, people like to say, we're at 43K, we were just at 37, hours ago, it's going to be a bull market soon and we're going to buy in. But at the end of the day, waiting for confirmation is the smartest thing you can do. And I've been talking about that 47K to 48K region since my original prediction in November, right? So it's not something I'm just pulling out of my, it's something that I've been talking about for months. And I'm not going to just flip away from that just because some people have gotten bullish again, right? The same thing happened a few weeks ago as we saw that pump up to 46K. People were telling me I was wrong. And I was like, okay, well, I'm happy to be wrong. I just want to see the confirmation of it. And then we dropped down because we didn't see any confirmation. So once we get above my invalidation point, I'm not going to be scared to say my overall prediction was incorrect. Why would I be scared to say that? Because I've been bearish since 63 to 66K. We came down to 34. In my opinion, that's a successful prediction. So, I'm not scared of me being wrong. I'd actually prefer that because I'd make more money and I'd gain more followers for sure. But at this point, the fact is, and the objective reality of the situation, according to my own analysis, is that we're just simply not there yet. We haven't broken that yet, and so I can't be bullish yet. I just can't. It's just simply not logical for me to say, all this analysis I've done in the last 3 to 4 months is irrelevant now because we've gone up bloody 10%. That doesn't make sense. We need to actually see a confirmation, and the last 8 hours doesn't act as a confirmation for me. So in terms of altcoin season, we've seen a triple bottom on macro support on the screen box, and typically after a triple bottom, you head upwards. And when you head upwards, you typically see a bear market because Bitcoin gains against altcoins happened in 2017 all the way through to the bottom in 2019. So I wouldn't expect anything different at this point. Now, again, if we break above my invalidation point, we can talk about something different happening. But as of right now, that's what's happening. It didn't correlate with the stock market, to be honest. Yeah, that's right. Well, Bitcoin in the last, 24 hours has definitely torn away from the stock market. And that's interesting to see. And we're going to look into that later in this live stream just before the daily candle close. Let me just grab some water quickly. But yeah, the stock market went slightly downwards and Bitcoin went upwards massively. And this was definitely an independent move, and that's why I'm interested to see if there's a direct cause from world events. But at this point I can't see anything like that. I'm just seeing that ascending triangle formation. We broke to the upside, so that might be the catalyst. Who knows? But as of right now, what I am looking at and what I made a video on recently was for DXY. Very important chart right now, and what I could see on the DXY that would have supported this move is the fact that, well, the DXY actually rejected off of the critical ascending wedge formation that that if we're going to see a sustained bear market, this would break to the upside. This needs to break to the upside. But we've seen a rejection off the top again, so that could be a reason for a bit of relief in the market because people are kind of looking at this and, the bulls don't want this to break up. I don't want this to break up. I don't want the market to go down, but I think, that's probably the likely scenario. Now, I know an ascending wedge is in a bearish formation, but what I can say as well is that TA doesn't necessarily matter with macro controlled charts like this, right? If interest rates rise, this thing is probably going to bounce. Probably. It's not certain, but it's probably going to bounce, and it's probably going to bounce out of this wedge. And when this goes up, Bitcoin goes down. We'll look at the DXY a bit more extensively soon as well. But yeah, in terms of actual stock market, S&P 500, DJI, the correlation has not been there today. Happens occasionally. It doesn't need to be perfect correlated at all points in time. It actually shows it's a step in the right direction for Bitcoin because at the end of the day, it's not meant, the end goal of Bitcoin is not to be correlated to the stock market. That's not the end goal. We want this to be as independent as possible. So even though I'm bearish right now, I want the best for Bitcoin. I want it to go up, right? So I'm wishing against what I think is going to happen. Inverse head and shoulders pattern, target 45k retest to the neckline for a larger head and shoulders again. Break that, then 55k. Look, for sure, it could definitely happen. But, from what I'm seeing here, this definitely, actually, you know what, you're completely right. This does line up perfectly with the fractal. I hope I didn't delete the fractal. Here it is. It does line up perfectly with the fractal, and I suppose you're kind of taking that directly from the fractal here. This fractal is stunning similarities, and it does suggest we go all the way up to 56k. That's completely correct. However, I would argue that it suggests, instead of 56k, it suggests that we're going to go up to the 50-week SMA, right? The 50-week SMA is currently at around 47.2k, and the reason why is because when this fractal played out, we jumped up to the 50-week and rejected off the 50-week, and the 50-week at that point in time, relative to current price action, was at 56, but relative to this price action, it'll be at 47. Okay, so kind of hard to explain there, but that's basically basing off the fact that, well, the technical analysis doesn't line up with a 56k retest. It does line up with a 50-week retest, as seen by the similarities between this chart as well. And applying that to the fractal, we can see 47k is slightly more likely than 56. But, I just feel like if we go to 56k, the market's going to be too bullish. The market's going to be too bullish for it to drop down again. 56k is a very, very high price point. I don't think this fractal fully justifies it alone. Fractals are historically very inaccurate ways to predict price action. This is an anomaly. I can't say that word, but you know what I mean. Anomaly. I can't say it. This is like a one-off, right? I have never seen a fractal this accurate before. So this is definitely a one-off situation. And I think we need to be skeptical as to how long it can maintain this correlation, because obviously, it's pretty similar so far. Even with a declaration of war, it's similar. So, I'm going to say we're probably going to go to 47k for a retest of the 50-week, but I don't think we're going to go to 56k. And by the way, I've been saying we go to the 50-week for a long time. I was kind of surprised in the last move up that we didn't retest the 50-week fully, and that's why I kind of said that. I'm a little bit skeptical about this drop, but it makes perfect sense that we retest the 50-week. And let's look into that briefly. Why? Well, in 2018. We dropped down, and we'll get into the actual nitty-gritty with it now. In 2018, we dropped below the 50-week SMA. We dropped 25% below, and we went down 4 weeks before finding a short-term bottom. Then, we rose up for 5 weeks, 46% to the 50-week SMA again, rejected off of it, and ended up at 200. Okay, so very similar thing is happening right now. We dropped down for the exact same amount of time, 4 weeks, 30% instead of 25. So very similar percentage as well. Okay, found a short-term bottom, jumped up, 43%. Okay, it would be 43% if we get to the 50-week. And this chart is delayed. Sorry about that. It would be 43% if we get to the 50-week, which we think we are going to get to. And that would take 5 weeks if it happens this week. Okay, and then we would expect, just like in 2018, a rejection down of a 200-week SMA. Okay, so similarities are definitely there, and going to 47k will be enough for people to be faked out, because at the end of the day, if a bear market is going to be successful and happening, you need to have dead cat bounces, because you can only go down so much. right? But if you jump up a little bit, people buy in, they get back into the market, they buy the dip, they get more in, they think the bull market's back on, and then it drops again. It's going to shake even more people out than it did the first time. So it's a natural kind of maneuver that happens in bear markets, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. Just clarifying for the new people who are coming in, I'm not bullish on Bitcoin until we actually break a weekly candle above the 50-week SMA. There's simply, from a logical, technical analysis perspective, isn't really much reason to jump the gun here. We need to be waiting, especially someone like me and someone like, people in the wolf pack who if followed my kind of plan here, have been out of the market since 63k 100%. It doesn't really make much sense to buy back at 43k. You'd rather just wait for 47 and then be 100% certain or 90% certain that it's going to go back up, right? So, we're waiting a little bit to get that extra clarity, because as of right now, it does suggest that, hey, we go up to the 50 week and then we just reject off of it. And so, I'm not really seeing, that much reason to be ultra bullish right now. But as for what you said there, inverse head and shoulders pattern is definitely playing out very similar to what happened in 2018. And yeah, that could suggest a 56k retest. I just don't think we're going to go that high. The thing is, if we break 47k, close the weekly candle above it, I say, okay, it looks good, looks bullish again. Let's potentially think about jumping back in here. But then we go to 56k and we see this fractal still playing out perfectly. I'm going to flip back to bearish, because why wouldn't I, right? So it's not something where you can make a decisive move like, oh yeah, I'm going to be bearish for the next 3 months. No, it's like you have to play it day by day with these kind of things, with these major trend reversals. It's very hard to actually pick the right point. But yeah, we're in a triangle on the daily. We are coming down in the new day. It's identical completely. It is identical completely so far. Yes, that's correct. We've been aware of this for months. So as much as people, if we break 47k, we go upwards, as much as people are going to call me wrong. It's like, how wrong have I really been? Selling at the mid to low 60ks, coming all the way down to 34k, pointing out this fractal, basically one of the first people out here to point it out. Maybe blockchain backer was before me. I don't know. There's debate about that. Who cares, really? But the point is, I've made you aware of all the scenarios. You guys need to make your educated decisions. At the end of the day, I'm always going to get trashed regardless of what happens. If it goes down, I'm going to lose followers because people hate the market. If it goes up, I'm going to be called wrong. There's no winning for me, but those of you who watch my videos seriously, watch my content seriously, know that I've made you aware of all the possible scenarios, and you guys need to make your own decisions based off what I've given you, really. So I'm happy regardless. We are in a different time zone. How can one know if Bitcoin is closed in all time zones? Yes, so it doesn't work like that, mate. It actually closes at the same time for all time zones. So for example, it's closing in 22 minutes for me. That means it will be closing in 22 minutes for you. Yeah, it's going to be a different time because we live in different places, but it's still going to be 22 minutes. So, yep. Any thoughts on how this year's charts compares to a 2014 fractal? Not very well. I've looked at that before. It doesn't really have... it doesn't look completely different, but I mean, the fact of the matter is 2014 was very, very different to what we're doing now on the market. I mean, 2014, what we were less than 100 USD, so very tiny market cap. But essentially, you get a kind of similar feel. I mean, you have similar bounces, dead cat bounces, come all the way down. We still bottomed out on the 200-week SMA. We still retested the 50-week. There are similarities, but in terms of a fractal directly, it doesn't look the same. I've looked at that before. It doesn't look the same. But, in terms of on paper, what did we do? Well, retested the 50-week from a downside, end up at 200. So yeah, that's similar. But in terms of the actual structure of the drop, it definitely looks way more similar to 2018 than 2014. Is there an indicator to show where there is a lot of resistance or support in the chart without counting it? Yes, there is. And that is called the volume profile. And I'll look at that in a second for you, mate. I'll bring that up on my daily chart here for Bitcoin. Now, just before I say this, 21 minutes before the daily close, we're still holding above the red rectangle, which is great to see. Let's hope we can close above that, but we'll have to see in 21 minutes, and we'll be around until that point. So what you're asking about basically is there something that shows you resistance without you having to map it out? Yes, the volume profile is what I've just brought up here. It's called the VPVR, okay, and you can find it on the indicators section. And you can go down to technicals and type it in there. And essentially, you can see hit the tab here, volume profile, click it in, volume profile visible range, and you'll be able to see it there for whatever you're looking at. But yeah, it shows you where, not necessarily as accurate as, support and resistance directly, but it does show you where historical trading volume has been, and that generally makes up support and resistance. So for example, there is a massive spike on the volume profile in this entire region here between 30k and 38k, and that shows you that there's lots of buying and selling interest in that region. If you're above it, it's going to act as support. If you're below it, it's going to act as resistance, right? I like to think of it like mountains, because they do look a bit like mountains. Okay, when you're in the valley of a mountain, for example, here, it's going to be very hard to run uphill because you've got resistance above you. It's going to be very hard to run down the hill or up the hill again to the other side because you've got support below you. So you're in the valley, you're in the mid zone. When you're, working your way up the mountain, you're halfway through the mountain, it's going to be hard to run up. It's going to be easy to fall down. So you can kind of use kind of metaphors like that to describe it very easily to yourself. And that's how I learned TA, you use those kind of, another one I like to use is that like when there's an intense compression in the market, like there was in May to July, right? It's like holding a beach ball or whatever it is, a volleyball under the water. You can hold it down for a certain period of time, but eventually when it comes up, it's going to come out of the water, and it's not only going to come to the top, it's also going to jump out of the water, right? And that's what we saw there. So you can lose a lot of things. Dead cat bounces, what I like to say about that is that, it's like a tennis ball. You drop it to the floor, the general direction is downwards. Eventually it's going to flatten out, but before it flattens out, it's going to see some bounces on the way down. Some bounces on the way down. Eventually it's going to flatten out, and then you can pick it back up again. Okay? So there's lots of little metaphors that you can use to make it a little bit easier to for yourself there. Those are three of my favorite ones. But yeah, as for the volume profile, that kind of does map out a little bit of support and resistance. Bears getting wrecked. Yeah, well, I don't really like agreeing with things like that because I suppose they are, but like, at the end of the day, the confirmation for the longer term trend hasn't been taken yet. So come back at 47.2k and then you can talk about that. And I'll probably join in. Where do you think Bitcoin will go if it breaks 48k? Upwards. Upwards. But, again, looking at the fractal, we have to break 47k. And it's also worth noting, guys, let's bring this up, all right? Interest rates are being kind of decided upon on the 15th of March. There's a lot of things happening this month. And the interest rate decision, coming into a time of super high inflation, highest inflation in 40 years, it's a big decision and it's going to cause a lot of volatility and it could fake a lot of people out. And that's why I'm waiting for weekly closes. I don't care about what happens day to day. But yeah, this decision's coming in, 2 weeks now? 2 weeks now. And, if we break above 47k before that point, we have to kind of ask ourselves whether it's worth being bullish yet. We really need to be waiting to see the result of this thing. This is a big thing. This is the reason why the market's crashing. This is the reason why the stock market's going down. It's all about this interest rates decision. And Russia-Ukraine, that's just making it even more impactful, the decision there, because the market was, let's bring up the S&P 500 here. And the S&P 500 was pricing in an interest rate rise. Okay, that's why it was going down. That's the reason, for those of you who don't know. It wasn't going down for any particular reason. It's pricing in an interest rate rise because big companies, big corporations, they know that an interest rate rise will, dramatically impact their stock valuations and their holdings. Obviously their ability to take out debt or whatever, taking out loans. But regardless, that's why it's pricing in, right? It's pricing in, it's going downwards. That means the rise is pricing in, but now we're going upwards, right? And that means, it's not fully priced in yet. And I'll try to explain this a little bit better. That was a bit of a rough explanation there. But essentially, the Russia-Ukraine situation and what that's done is Russia has applied pressure on the US because if the US has high interest rates, they're basically shooting themselves in the foot because then they can't, take out as much debt because then they have higher repayments, right? They're basically burdening themselves with higher repayments if they have raised those interest rates. And that's a bad thing if they think they're going to go into a period of time where they're going to be spending a large amount of money, like a potential World War III situation, or a situation in which they need to constantly supply Ukraine with resources, or constantly, fortify the front lines against Russia, or something like that, right? If they're going to spend a lot of money, they're not going to raise interest rates, okay? Now, the thing is, if they don't raise interest rates, inflation's going to eat them alive, which it's already doing. So if they keep the interest rates low, yeah, the markets will pump, yeah, Bitcoin will probably go up, yeah, the DXY will probably go down, but inflation will get us eventually. Now, if they raise the interest rates, we'll see a correction in the markets further than we've already done. Bitcoin will go down, but eventually we will kind of fight inflation, and we might be able to avoid we might be able to avoid a stagflation that might happen in the future, which is where the economic growth is low and inflation's high. Now, it could throw us into recession at the same time, but I suppose the point is, it's a little bit confusing. I suppose the point is, there's a very important decision that will kind of determine the fate of the entire Western global economy here coming up on the 15th of March. Okay? And people aren't giving it enough value. Okay, so for me to say, well, Bitcoin's going to be bullish above 47K and you can buy back above 47K when we have this massive decision coming up that could potentially throw the entire global economy into recession, it's kind of a bit meaningless, right? We have to wait for the 15th of March. 15th of March is very important. Let's wait to see what happens there. Sorry for a bit of a confusing explanation there. I've explained it a lot of times. So it's essentially just explaining it again. Interest rates are low. That means inflation's high and economic growth is massive. Or sorry, not economic growth, but stock market growth, traditional markets growth, right? That's massive. Interest rates are high. That means inflation is typically low. And that also means that stock market growth is low as well. So that's a kind of easy way to explain it. And there's a big decision coming up about that we need to be waiting for. Jay from Jersey, England, back again. Great work, mate. Nice to see you on the stream. Using the 2018 fractal, where do you see the current move topping out? I'd like to exit. Yeah, I think I've already answered that. So yeah, I think we're going to top out at the 50-week SMA for sure. You are so good technically, and I'm so impressed with your explanation. I will continue to tell people about you. I want your channel to grow. I appreciate that, mate. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm trying my best. I post 2 videos a day. I'm trying pretty hard. Live stream pretty regularly. I've been going at it since July last year. I think one of the reasons why my channel doesn't grow as fast as other channels is because I don't tell people what they want to hear. I tell people, and that's what I kind of pride myself about. It's in my channel banner. Go, honest crypto analysis. I'm honest about my own opinions. Whether it's right or not, that's a different question, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again, but at least I'm actually telling you what I think, not what I want you to hear, not what you think you should hear, you know what I mean? Back in front of the bricks, welcome back. Yeah, thanks, cheers mate. Got caught in Queensland. Weather in Queensland is absolutely crazy right now, guys. I'm surprised my flight did not get cancelled. Flash flooding up there, crazy rain, insane stuff. You still look at that fractal you analysed in my last video? Yes, I've been looking at that throughout the entire live stream here, mate, so go ahead and check that out. Whenever a Bitcoin pump diverts from the stock market or world events, it's a fake pump caused by hedge funds. Potentially, I don't know if I fully agree with you, but typically that is generally the case, yeah. In the past, we've seen increased interest rates, still seen Bitcoin reach all-time highs. I saw a recent Benjamin Cohen video. Yeah, okay, so I watched that video as well. And what I would say is that the reason why this time is different is because in 2018, for example, we had an interest rate rise, and that interest rate rise was in a time of reasonable economic growth and quite low inflation. We have the highest inflation in 40 years, and we have low GDP at this point in time, and we have supply chain issues, and we have war in Europe, nuclear war threats. We have a lot of things going on right now that weren't the same in 2018. 2018, everything was normal. Go back to 2018. What was happening in 2018? Really not that much. Everything was just chill. So to compare now to 2018 is a little bit irrational. It's something we need to wait for. We're in an abnormal time, so let's wait to see what the decision does because it could have abnormal effects. So comparing it right now, just because interest rates went up, it doesn't mean it's the same thing. It's like comparing Bitcoin to 2014. It's like, yeah, you can do it. You can do it, and there are going to be similarities, and there are going to be fractals you can take out, but you can't take it too seriously because in 2014, the market cap was only like 10 million to 100 million or something. Now it's like, a trillion. So, you know what I mean? I think I explained that pretty well. The founding principle of BTC looks all the more critical given the backdrop of Canadian banking restrictions and, of course, for Russian economic sanctions. Perhaps this is a manipulated move for exit liquidity. Could be, mate. Could be for sure. Again, that's all just speculation, though. I don't like to think too much about that kind of stuff. Based on the fractal comparison, how long until we reach a new all-time high? Well, the fractal comparison kind of suggests we go downwards until like November or something like that. So as for all-time high, well, that could be 2023 or 2024, according to a bear market prediction. Probably leaning towards 2024, to be honest. But it would suggest that the downwards move is going to be over by the end of this year, okay? So whether we reach it next year or the year after, that's kind of... But yeah, a bear market, people say 3-year bear market. It's not necessarily a 3-year bear market, right? It's actually 1 year of bear market, 2 years of slow moving upwards, and then 1 year of bull market. That's typically how it goes. If you could only use one time frame to trade with, what would it be? I would never use one time frame to trade with because that's terrible. It's like driving a manual car but only driving one gear. You have to use a lot of time frames for sure. But my most important time frames would be 4 hourly, 1 day, 1 week, and probably 5 day. 5 days is pretty important as well, but yeah. 4 hour is a good mix between short term and long term. That's why I like the 4 hour. Anything below the 4 hour, you can use it if you're a scalp trader or potentially even a swing trader, but it gets a little bit iffy because you can see that some of the things like a bullish MACD cross on the 1 hour chart doesn't really do much, hey? Like, depends, but not really. Wolf, you're a legend. You've been saying and calling for ages. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's good to see that, people who have been around since my original predictions back in up here, early November, mid-November, they're the ones who are most supportive. It's the people who have jumped in and seen my prediction down here who think I've just made up this 34K, this 200-week prediction down at 34K, who are generally negative because they don't realize how long I've actually been saying this. And they don't realize that if we go up past 47K, we still bought back like 20K lower than when we sold. So you can't please them all, mate. But I appreciate that. You've been around for a while. I know that. Same with Don. Nah, Wolf, you're winning. You at least state how your thesis can be validated. For sure, there's always invalidation points. And I never want it to be seen as though I'm going to be right. I'm going to be right. Because I genuinely don't think that. There's a very considerable chance that I'm wrong. Everyone should understand that. I'm just one person, Dude, you are the Joe Rogan of TA. Yeah, right. Yeah. Is that Joe Rogan stuff sorted out, though, with Spotify? I don't know. I haven't been keeping up. Ramble rants. Thanks, mate. Wolf, no emotional BS. Straight facts. Yeah, appreciate that. Did this move have a lot of volume? Let's see. Probably did, yeah. Probably did. We'll probably have to check out, like, the 4 hourly or the hourly chart to see that, actually. That's actually kind of surprising. Yeah, it didn't really have that much. To be honest, it didn't really have a massive amount of volume. Like from a 7K move, you would expect more. Yeah, it didn't have a massive amount of volume. That's really interesting to see, actually. 8 minutes into a daily candle close, but yeah, not amazing amount of volume there for a 7K move, which kind of begs the question. It's probably not a natural move. Hey, who knows? Hey Wolves, just joined. Just wondering at what point you will turn bullish. Sorry if you've already said this, love your work. So yeah, I've said this a few times at 47, so basically above the 50-week SMA, which is currently at around 47K. If we close a weekly candle above that, on paper, I will be bullish, but we need to look into it further when it happens. I'll say that. Is it too risky to buy now? I would say it is, but you need to make that decision for yourself. Yeah, I would say it is. We've moved up too much too quickly. Thoughts on Polkadot? Yeah, so I'm trying to focus this on Bitcoin a little bit, mate. So come back on the next live stream and we'll talk about altcoins a little bit. I live in Queensland. Thankfully, the area is not too affected. That's great. Yeah, the area I was in was basically underwater. Yeah. First summer in Oz. Apparently, it's the wettest in 30 years. Typical. That's right. Yeah, and look. Oh, I can't say that. They'll disclose my location. Never mind. I was going to say something based on where I live, but I don't want to tell you guys that, unfortunately. But yeah, I've heard that it is basically the wettest one in 30 years. It's also very hot as well. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I feel like every year it's getting hotter, but who knows? I'm not a scientist, eh? When is your course coming out, brother? I'm really excited about that. Yeah, so me and Megawell Crypto, I, as you guys would know, I don't have any monetization to this channel. I don't make money from this channel at all. I'm fine with that, completely fine with that. But there has been like a lot of demand about a technical analysis course because a lot of people want to, realistically, you could learn it by yourself. You could learn TA by yourself. It's just going to be a lot harder, and it's going to be a lot more time consuming. A lot of people won't know where to start. A lot of people, just like in school or university, you could technically learn university subjects by yourself as well. But like the reason people don't do it is because first of all they want the qualification, but second of all it's harder. It's harder to learn it by yourself. It takes a lot more time. You don't know where to start. You don't know the logical process in which you need to learn it. And so me and Megawell Crypto, my mate Megawell, we're going to be creating. Well, we are currently creating a learn to trade course. It's going to be paid. So it's not going to be for everyone straight off the bat. It's not free due to the fact that we're putting in like 40 hours of content in there and we're making an actual educational platform very similar to what you would have, for example, in a university or a school where you have like your account, you have your assignments, you have your week, what your lectures are, whatever. It's going to be very structured. And that's something that's missing in the crypto space. Now, there are a lot of courses. You can learn to trade anywhere. Everyone has a course these days, right? We're completely aware of that. But not everyone has a course that actually goes through the process of trying to implement psychologically beneficial strategies in order to make you actually learn. People just, make you pay $3,000 and give you an access key and you can just see 30 hours worth of content. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be structured. There's going to be worksheets. There's going to be quizzes. It's going to be for people who actually want to learn, and obviously whether you do that, that's optional, but it's going to be actually structured. It's going to be unique, right? There's nothing like it that I know about. So, when is it coming out? We're aiming for the next few months. It's kind of hard because we need to work on it together. And obviously it's very time consuming and there's a lot of content. We need to build a website, build a brand, build everything, so next few months, hopefully before the middle of the year. Is lengthening cycles a thing? Yes, it is. Lengthening cycles is a thing, but it depends what you mean by lengthening cycles. I would also say that the 4-year cycle is a thing as well. And there's lots of, I have a lot of videos on that actually. If you type up 4-year cycle Wolves of Crypto, there should be a video that comes up. And if you type up lengthening cycles Wolves of Crypto, there should be a video that comes up as well. But, it's a lot to look into right now in a short-term time frame. I don't have any of the charts available, but essentially the 4-year cycle, a lot of people will cut it off due to the fact that we didn't have a top this year in December or whatever like that. But there actually is a pretty clear 4-year cycle in which we have a certain amount of days between each top in each cycle, certain amount of days between each bottom in each cycle, certain amount of days between the bottom and top of each cycle. It all lines up perfectly. So type up Wolves of Crypto 4-year cycle and you can see that video. Very intense stuff that a lot of people would discount, but it actually makes perfect sense. The daily close is in 4 minutes. Voice is getting tired. Hi mate, enjoying your content. If Bitcoin tops out at 53k, will an altcoin season ensue as blockchain backer has predicted? Keep up the good work. No, I don't think that Bitcoin... I don't think there's going to be an altcoin season based off what has happened historically. And the reason being is because when we see an altcoin season, we usually see it in a dead cat bounce immediately after the all-time high. Okay, so in 2018, for example, when did we see the altcoin season? Well, let's see. Okay, we saw the altcoin season here. This was the altcoin season in 2018. Okay, it was immediately after the all-time high. Okay, in 2014, it was the same case. There weren't many altcoins back then, but it was the same case. And on Bitcoin this year, for example, the altcoin season happened here immediately after the all-time high. Okay, the all-time high was placed here on Bitcoin. The all-time high was here. Okay, we haven't seen a dead cat bounce right after that. I don't think we'll see an altcoin season. It's very simple. But, if we do, I'll keep you... Because here's the thing. It's like, I don't think we're going to see it, but if it starts to happen, it's very easy to spot onto. And so we don't really need to try to predict it. I think there's more risk than gain trying to predict something like that. Because altcoins are very volatile, and if Bitcoin's in a bear market, they're going to drop like another 50% minimum. So if it starts to happen, we can point it out. We can start buying altcoins. But as of right now, trying to predict it, trying to predict whether it would happen or not, it's very hit or miss, very risky. Have you heard of No Nonsense Forex? No, I have not. I don't trade Forex. I don't look at any Forex videos or anything like that. I'm not really interested in Forex. I think it's a bit boring. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll try it out. Maybe in peak bear market where everything's dead, I'll try out some Forex. Feds might end up... Well, look, here's the thing. I do trade Forex a little bit, technically, because I trade the AUD-USD pair a little bit. And let's look at that briefly, but who cares? Not many people are going to care about this. I assume not a lot of my viewers will be Australian in this chat right now, but I do trade this a little bit. For example, here in February 2021, I noticed this major support line. Traded that, worked out pretty well, but it just takes too long for moves to play out. I don't like it that much. I prefer crypto. It's much more volatile, so you can still do the TA, but TA still matters, but it plays out much quicker, so there's much more profit potential, which is great to see. I like that kind of stuff. I don't want to be in a trade for months. I want to be in a trade for like a couple weeks maximum. Feds might end up not raising rates, though, at least not until war is over. If so, Bitcoin could pump to mid-50s in no time. 100%. That's definitely a possibility, and that's why we're seeing the S&P 500 pump. Because previously, it was going down, and why was that? Well, because people were certain that rates were going to rise. Now that Russia has declared war on Ukraine, there is a threat to the United States. Okay, because they think that maybe there is a period in time in the future where they're going to be needing to spend a lot of money, take out a lot of debt. And so they might not raise interest rates. Now, in the long term, this might kill the USA, might kill Western economies, might kill the USD. Why? Because inflation will be rampant. And this could be part of Russia's plan. It could be one of the motives, right? Or it could be one of the reasons why Russia has justified its current motive. Okay, they want to kill the US economy. For those of you who don't know, the Russian economy is very weak, though. They're like, they've got the same GDP as Spain. You know, or like they've got the same GDP, I think, as Florida, the state of Florida. Very weak economy. And so it's in their best interest to weaken the USA. For sure. When BTC is done pumping, where do you see it finding support? The 200-week SMA is my bottom prediction, yeah. So that's at 20k currently. By the time we get there, it'll probably be like 24k. My guy Wolf left finance at uni, worked at KFC for 4 years while turning himself into a TM master and is killing it in crypto. Nothing but respect for the hustle. For sure. Well, look. Finance at uni, very, how do I explain it? Finance at uni is very annoying. It's a very annoying thing to study because if you're interested in finance, you know, generally speaking, you're interested in financial markets. No one's really interested in finance. I mean, there are some people who like being accountants and stuff like that, but for me personally, I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for everyone. But for me personally, I was interested in stocks and Forex, and not necessarily Forex. I actually hate Forex. I think it's boring. But stocks and crypto, I was interested in that. And then I had to spend 90% of my time talking about federal tax rates and like how companies get taxed and the laws around taxation. It's like, I really didn't care. But yeah, I did it for a while. I'm not going to tell you how long. The more information I give out, the more people will know who I am. But I think I've already disclosed a little bit of information there about KFC as well. But yeah, I worked at KFC for a while. Yeah, appreciate that, Don. Is there a possible Head and Shoulders playing out? On what time frame? Do you mean this Head and Shoulders here? Do you mean that? I wouldn't say that's a Head and Shoulders pattern if that's what you mean. 50-ish watches, only like 33k, 32 likes. Come on. Yeah, hit the like button, guys. I hate saying that kind of stuff. It's very cringe. But yeah, hit the like button. If you like what I'm saying or whatever, you find it interesting or whatever, hit the like button. Now, the daily candle has just closed. I'll look at that in a second. Do you think too much Bitcoin is in the hands of too few people? I do. Now, there is a chart that I brought up. It was on Twitter recently. I can't remember the exact statistics of it, but I think the top 0.01% of Bitcoin holders hold like 14% of the supply. And the top 8% hold like 90% of the supply. So yeah, very centralized towards the top end. But, so is fiat, So that's just a consequence of the free market. It's bad, but there's really nothing you can do about it. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's bad, but again, there's really nothing you can do about it. It's a consequence of free market. And you don't want anything but a free market, I can tell you that. So yeah, let's look at Bitcoin right now. It's closed in a daily candle. And it's managed to close just above the red rectangle here. So that's a great close. Above support on Bitcoin. What have we closed above? Let's take a look. So we've got above the Gaussian channel. We've got above the 21 week. We haven't tested the bull market support band yet. That'll be interesting. We've closed above Ikomoku. Closed above 50 days, sorry. So yeah, good close. Closed above the blue line here as well. Lots to look forward to in the next few days. It should be interesting. That was a good daily candle close. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to pump up straight away. But it does mean that this retest of the 50-week SMA as expected is probably the most likely scenario here. And does that mean you should enter a trade? I don't think so. I'm not entering anything right now. But, it's up to you. I think it's up too much. I think it's gone up too quickly. I think right now entering a trade is a bad idea, even though we saw a good daily candle close. I don't trust a 7K move in 8 hours. I just don't. I can't. It's not in me. But yeah, look, let's see what happens. I can't really say too much about it. It's doing well. We'll make a video tomorrow on the situation, see what progresses there. Now, as I said, 6 days until the weekly candle close. If somehow we manage to close the weekly candle above 47.2k, that's good to see. We can consider getting back into the market. But we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. Wolf and Whale, self-made crypto TA geniuses can't wait for the course, guys. Well, thanks for the support. I'm excited. It's exciting for us as well because me and Mega Whale, we want people to, obviously be involved in the course. And we're gonna try and make it as affordable as possible. Now, also you have to take into account that we have to justify the amount of work we're putting into it. We're not just whipping this out in 2 days. This is like a 4-month long process, and so it has to benefit us as well. And it's all well and good me saying, well, it's benefiting me because I'm helping people, but come on, guys. I know, it sounds good on paper, but that's just not the case. It's not how life works. There needs to be financial benefit. It's like a doctor's wealthy, but you still pay a doctor to fix your leg, don't you? So same for a lawyer. So you still pay them for their services. So it's going to be paid, it's going to be charged, you're going to pay for it if you're going to buy it, but I can give you, to the best of what I can guarantee you, it's going to be worth it. We're going to make it priced as reasonably as possible based on the amount of work we're putting into it. And I'm excited to release it as well. It's a big project. It's very ambitious. Very ambitious. What's your thoughts on trading with 1 to 2x leverage and not using a stop loss? I don't like leverage in general, but if you're trading with low leverage to the point where any scam pump can't get you liquidated, it's probably fine. If you do day trading, can you do a course for quick scalping? Yeah, this course that we're creating is going to go over basically everything. I'm not going to give too much information on the course because I'm not sure if Megawell is okay with me doing that at this point. It is a joint partnership, so we can't just go ahead and release information at free will. We have to kind of consult each other about it first. But yeah, what I can say is that I will be covering basically everything. Yep. Any thoughts on increased risk for regulation due to sanctions? Plus, there will be energy crisis, so proof of work blockchains will be an easy target. Yeah, look, I know that I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not too educated on that at this point in time, but I do know that Russia, is it 30 to 40% of the energy supply of Europe they control, or is it oil? I can't remember, or gas or something. They control something massive there, and I know that them going to war with Ukraine has put a massive strain on the European Union. I know that Ukraine also holds like 40% of Europe's wheat supply or something, so they will be able to drive up the prices of food. But yeah, I honestly can't say too much about that. I haven't looked into it too much. You and Megawell, the most accurate predictors we've seen in the past few months. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I can say that we were one of the only ones, not to brag, but I kind of have to. We were one of the only ones calling the top so high. I can tell you that right now. And whether our border prediction's correct or not, we still did pretty well in my opinion. Hey Wolves of Crypto, is the Russia-Ukraine conflict with both sides clamoring for BTC? Again, yeah, I can't say too much about that. Do you guys have a Discord community channel? Do you have a Discord or community channel? I've recently deleted my Telegram because it's too much. I can't monitor YouTube, Twitter, and Telegram. It's just too much for me personally. I could hire a moderator or something like that, but I don't think it's big enough at this point. I think that there's enough platforms for communication. If you want to contact me, you can do it through YouTube or Twitter. So yeah, I deleted that unfortunately. Maybe in the future we'll bring something like that up. Yeah, it's gas. That's right. Yeah, it's gas. Yeah. So yeah, prices going up, and that's what I've noticed here. We call it petrol here in Australia. I'm not sure where you're from, but yeah, prices have gone up already. They're already skyrocketing based off that, and also inflation as well. But I think we're gonna wrap it up there, guys. We've done a pretty good stream here. Please post a link to whatever that channel is. I don't know what that is. Yeah, but I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you learned something about BTC. Just to kind of clarify what we've been over, 47.2k, the 50-week SMA is the critical breaker. Close a weekly candle above that, and we're not going to be bullish, but we're going to reassess the situation. Okay? At the end of the day, March 15th is the interest rate rising or staying the same. Very important date there. Lots to look forward to in the next couple of weeks, and I'll catch you in the next live stream. Thanks for watching, guys.